With this video, I'm showing and making available an application that I have developed in C# to fully simulate a Mackie Control Universal Surface. The reason why I've developed such application is because I was working in prototyping my own DAW remote control surface. And the problem that I found was to fully understand how the Mackie Universal Control Protocol works. It is in fact possible to find and download in internet some official documentation about the Mackie UE protocol, which is the predecessor of the Universal Control Protocol, but nothing more than that. There are additional scattered information that is possible to find around, but nothing really clear, up-to-date and consistent. I had in a first moment starting prototyping some part of my control surface going by try and error approach, but at a given moment I came across to some showstopper, for instance on an LCD main display. The Mackie surface uses a 2x56 character LCD display, which is almost impossible to find on the market. Understanding how the interaction between the surface and the DAW was working in this respect was for me all but evident. Also, developing the V-pots encoders and the 7-segment display was not so clear, and so I finally found myself stuck in the mud. Until I started developing this software simulation. As soon as the application was complete enough, everything started looking much clearer. That's the reason why I decided to show it and distribute it, because I think that it could be useful for someone else. First of all, let's see how the interface looks like. And guess what? It looks exactly like a Mackie Universal Control. We have the LCD main display composed by two lines of 56 characters. Here we have the strip with slider, a meter LED bar here, 4 buttons for select, mute, solo and recording function, a rotary encoder, the V-pot, with 11 LEDs around. We have 8 strips for 8 channels, plus 1 slider for master. Going to the right section, here we have the tray with record, play, stop, forward and backward buttons. We have the zoom, the scrub and the jog wheel. Getting back to the upper side, we have the 10 7-segments display units here. Finally, we have the overlay section here. This section contains a series of buttons that vary on a DAW basis. In the reality, it is possible to buy some sticker to put on the surface depending on the DAW you use. In this simulation, I have implemented the original generic overlay from Mackie and the Cubase one here. Just to be clear, in the reality as well as in the simulation, the functions does not change in terms of MIDI message. What changes is just the name of the button. If there will be request, I will add more overlays. Last but not least, in the upper right corner, we have 2 debug display areas here, which are the only elements not present in the reality inside the physical interface. Inside these 2 display areas, I'm showing the MIDI message in input from the DAW and output from the simulation software, with the goal of showing off the information running behind the scenes. Let's have a view on the functionality with Cubase. So let's switch to the Cubase overlay and let's start Cubase. As you can see, as soon as Cubase gets open, the first MIDI message arrives for the main LCD display and the 7 segments one. Let's create an empty project and let's add 8 tracks. There you go. All control, starting from the slider, the buttons and again the main LCD are updated. We can then start evaluating the interaction on both sides. If for instance I change the name of track 1 and I put for instance test, this is immediately updated on the surface simulation. You can see in the input area here the System MIDI message arrived for the LCD main display. There are the opening and closing bytes F0 and F7. There is the position of the text here at 56th character. 56th character is the first character of the second line here. There are two spaces here that you can see here. Then the T capital, E, X, T, minuscule. We can move the faders like this. Set in mute function. Solo function. Or changing the name value function inside the display. Here. Finally, we can move the vid pots in default pan pot mode. Changing the pan on all tracks. Let's close this project and open another one with some track inside. There you go. The surface simulation gets updated immediately and it's ready to run. I click on the play button here. And as you can see, the meters are reflecting the peaks value and the 7-segment counter is counting in sync with Cubase. I can switch between SMTP to beats here. And I can stop and move forward and backward with buttons and with jog wheel. I can open the editor of the selected track, which in this case is the 8th track here. I can switch the view of the surface simulation to equalizer here. Now all the pots here control the various equalization. I can activate here and here and here, and I can change the cut as well as the frequency of the band that I have activated, like this. I can set the shift button here and then again EQ. Now I have another visualization of the EQ. I have two pages. I switch on the second page and now I can control the shape of the cut, like this. Everything again is visible in real time on the main LCD. Just to be clear, these are just some examples of what the Mackie Universal Control Protocol and this simulation can do. In the 2debug display, you can check, in fact, what are all the messages exchanged here. If you are interested, you can download the software from my site. I will leave the link below, from here. And so that you can start testing and discovering by yourself. Just some info about the software. It's developed in .NET, so natively running on Windows, and for now tested only on Windows 10. Should you manage to test successfully with other OS, please let me know. In order to connect the software simulation to the DAW, you need to use a MIDI virtual cable software. There are several on the net. I use, for instance, Loop MIDI from Tobias Eriksson. I hope this is the right pronunciation. And I will leave the link in the description. Please remember, this DAW Control Simulator software is intended for personal test and discovery purpose. It's free, and in exchange, I just kindly ask you to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell to stay tuned for the next videos. Thanks a lot for your attention and bye!